Oh, hi, good morning. Happy Easter, Passover, if you celebrated that on Wednesday, or just spring, because it is indeed spring. Most of the country, most of the world, this part of it up here, is celebrating spring for sure. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about ways to keep busy, ways to avoid boredom during your staycation, shall we call it, while we're all home staying safe. Dr. Carmen McGuinness back with you with lots and lots of ways to stay busy while we're home staying safe. So I'll just go through them in order. They're kind of arbitrary. I took the whole week to think about these and to think about what I do. It was funny because I started making the list and then I thought, oh wow, none of these things are what I'm actually doing. They're all great ideas, but they're not what I'm doing to stay busy. So I started weaving in mine so they don't just appear at the end. So we're going to start right at the top. This is kind of for everybody. Some of these would be most of them are for adults. They're things that, because I'm an adult, things that adults might do to stay busy during a staycation. But some of them would also be applicable to children and things you might do with children. I'll give an example of what I mean. Woodworking is one of the things on my list. That is probably something that a child could do, but only with an adult doing it along with them. So that's what I mean. All right, so let's just start at the top. And again, these are for men, women, just everybody who wants to stay busy. So here we go. First one is homemade potpourri. And I'm going to splice in a picture here of the potpourri that I made myself with citrus from my garden. I slice it really thin and let it dry overnight for a day. Depending on your humidity level, you might want to let it dry 2 days. And then I just mix it into the big giant pot of potpourri. And this pot's been getting bigger and bigger. I've been doing this for a while now. This isn't something I started doing during the pandemic. It's something I started probably about maybe 5 months ago. Actually, I think it was shortly after Christmas. So yeah, about 4 months ago. Excuse me. So that's one. And in addition to citrus, you can add nutmeg to it. You can add cinnamon sticks to it. By nutmeg, I mean the whole pieces of nutmeg. And also cloves. And it just makes a wonderful aroma. And you can just stir it up every now and then, and it spreads around your kitchen or whatever room you have it in. So the next one is something that a friend of mine is doing online, and it seems to be keeping her very happy. It's coloring books. She's doing quite elaborate birds and garden things. There's a zillion adult coloring books that you can order from whoever you are getting your supplies from right now. And the next one is really cool. Not something I've done, but I've seen some wonderful pictures online. And it's diorama building. So if you just Google that or go on YouTube, which is where you are, and enter in a search, you'll find a lot of examples of diorama building. You can use things that are just around the house. You don't necessarily need to order any kits or anything like that. You can use recyclables, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. And the next one is something I could certainly use, which is experimenting with makeup. This is a great time because we can get ourselves all done up and not have to leave the house like that if we don't like it. In fact, we shouldn't leave the house like that, whether we like it or not. And the next one goes along with that is new hairstyles. Now, I've seen a lot of celebrities actually cutting their hair and showing off their haircuts online. I saw one, Ellen DeGeneres had pink on the other day, and Pink had given herself a little trim. She's not new to that, though. So be careful. Don't do anything too crazy. Remember also, Venus is about to go retrograde, and we make huge style mistakes when Venus is retrograde. So really don't make any long-term or short-term decisions about your hair right now. And of course there's coloring hair, which is something I need to do. My hairstylist, thank you Michelle if you're watching, sent me some supplies, so I'm covered, if you'll pardon the pun, on that one. Next one is learning an instrument. Now I know this sounds like you would need a teacher, but in fact there's a million online courses with live video and real people that are teaching different instruments. So cool. And in my opinion, just watching them is entertaining. Now, years ago, I taught myself how to drum circle drumming, I'm talking about, you know, just not a particular, it's just hearing the rhythm and staying connected to the other drummers in the drum circle. I taught myself how to do that online, and then I had the nerve to go out and do some drum circles, and today I host drum circles at my house. None lately because we can't be that close, but you know about that. So the next one is meditation, something I highly recommend, and I've got up some videos actually about meditation. I'll put a link right there. And then card games. Card games are something you can do with the family, maybe not something that floated your boat before, but you may find it entertaining now. And of course there are the wonderful board games as well. I love board games. I'm a huge board game person. So, and it's funny that the word bored, you know, you're bored, so let's play a game. That's what I tried on my kids. They didn't fall for it, but I did make them play. And then the next one is really cool. Something I do anyway is bird watching. And I think in the opening segment, you might have heard my hawks in the background. I call them my hawks because they fly over my house. They're up there this morning, but I think they've gone over that way for now. We might hear them again in a minute. And then the next one, of course, is just plain common sense. Let's get cooking. I have friends and clients who tell me I don't know how to cook. I'm just lost at home with no food. I don't know what to do. Yeah, you can go do takeout, and we're supposed to support the restaurants by doing takeout right now. But I have a particular organic diet that I eat. So cooking at home for me is like, it's a great part of my day. It's toward the end of the afternoon. I think, yay, I get to go cook dinner. This is awesome. Woohoo, something to do. And of course you can sip wine while you're cooking dinner or just while you're not. And then the next one is journaling. Journaling is really good for you anyway, and it might be a really good way to get out some of the angst, fear, isolation that we're feeling right now. One of the things that I suggested for a client to journal was dialogue, because she said, I just really miss talking to people. So she's imagining particular people who, of course, she's texting with and she's talking with on the phone. But in those lonely moments, she is also dialoguing with them. And she said it gives her great ideas for how to work through issues she's had with them before, what to talk about the next time she talks with them. Sorry, mosquito. So journaling in whatever way, whether it's writing dialogue or just writing about whatever you're up to and whatever you're feeling and thinking. And then the next one is a way to get organized without having to get in a closet. I mean, all the celebs that are cleaning their closets, I mean, Hollywood Hills is going to be falling down with completely clean closets. They'll probably all be downsizing soon. All those celeb houses will be for sale because they'll realize that they just had a lot of stuff they didn't need in those closets. So what about cleaning out your email? That's such a great idea to do right now. In fact, I'm going to do it. Not today. Maybe Monday. And then the next one is short courses. There are so many short courses online. I talked a little bit about learning an instrument, like drumming, for instance, but there's a gazillion. One that I really want to take is jewelry making, and that's, of course, another idea. keep in mind you can order pretty much anything from whatever source. I don't want to plug any companies, but we all know where we're getting our stuff from right now. Um, so you can order jewelry making kits online from any source, really. And then, so short courses, whether it's jewelry making or whatever it is you want to do, there are a lot of short courses online. So the next one is something I mentioned right at the get-go, is woodworking. One of my neighbors is doing woodworking at home now, and it's something he used to do a long time ago. He was a trim carpenter, I think, before he became an electrician. And so he's got back to woodworking. It's nothing like it. I mean, no, that makes it sound like he's really experienced at it, but he's not doing things like that. He's whittling and doing small woodworking projects. He made himself a whistle shaped like a bird the other day, which I thought was super cool. So let me get where I was. Okay, the next one is sewing. Now, you don't have to be a seamstress. You don't have to make clothing. Here's something I made. I made this actually a couple of years ago. I had this piece of fabric. It came almost like tissue paper, although it's not, it's fabric. It came inside of something that I ordered. I think it came from India or, you know, some beautiful faraway country. And it was just a flat piece of fabric. So I made it into a little bag. I just took a piece of string and sewed it up. Super easy to do. So you could make ahead some maybe some holiday gifts for the future. You could either use it as a gift or something to put gifts in, is what I was getting at. So sewing, whatever you want to sew. Obviously, masks, great idea. Oh, I'll put up a picture of me and my mask here too, when I went to the grocery store 2 days ago. Yeah. And then the next one is kind of cool too, is work on your playlist. So I've got I didn't want to call it a coronavirus playlist because that just seemed, I didn't want to name something after it. You know, it's like when you hear about a mass killer or something, nobody wants to talk about his name because that makes him important. You know, I don't want to make the coronavirus important. So I named my playlist Fire because I make a lot of fire in my garden. That sounds weird. I have a fire pit and I build fires in my garden. I have a new and full moon fire, and then I make fire whenever I feel like making fire. So where was I going with that? So, working on your playlist, right? Mine's named Fire. You can think of a clever name for your playlist and just work on something that helps you get it out. You know what I mean? I'll give you an example. I was walking the other day and I heard my neighbor was outside cleaning off his, he was pressure washing. There's something for you to do. I'm going to be doing it tomorrow. My neighbor was cleaning off his driveway with a pressure washer, and he stopped for a minute to wave and say hi to me, and the music that was playing in his yard, he had it loud, was I think it's called Volcano by Jimmy Buffett. It's the lyrics are, I don't know where I'm gonna go when the volcano blows. And I said to him, wow, that's such a great song for a playlist right now. And he said, yeah, I've got a playlist. So maybe you're already doing this, I don't know. My neighbor is, and I am. So there's an example of a good song that might help you get out your angst right now. And I don't mean to make it sound like you necessarily have angst. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're perfectly happy at home. I know let's talk about that for a minute. I'm an introvert. I'm very comfortable alone with myself. I enjoy my own company. That's not true for everybody. Some people really they feel isolated. They miss the attachment to other beings, live, physical. I miss things like hugs, you know? And I also miss things like smiles. I've noticed in the grocery store, first of all, you can't see anybody's mouth, but people are not making eye contact because it's really awkward to make eye contact with somebody and then edge away from them like they're unclean or unsafe. So we're just all sort of avoiding each other, which is kind of sad. So anyway, I'm going to stop using the word angst here because you might not be feeling anything like angst. I don't know. And then the next one is keeping data on whatever it is that you are noticing in the world around you. It might be data about nature, if you're fortunate to have a garden, as I am, writing down a list of what birds you saw today, or going back to bird watching, looking up what kind of birds those are and keeping track of it that way. Or it could be something like keeping data on your own. Here's a good one: news watching. How many hours a day you're watching the news. How many hours a day you're looking at YouTube. How many hours a day you're texting with friends. Things like that, just splicing up your day. If you're fortunate to be working at home, as I am, I'm running my school from home now, and I'm seeing clients on my my HIPAA secure video platform. You can keep track of how many hours you're working. So any kind of data keeping that might be of interest to you. And then the next one is kind of cool, and definitely something you can get from that supplier, who's nameless, that I talked about earlier, is a rug hooking kit. Rug hooking, to me, is the easiest way to use needles and yarn to make something pretty. My mother used to knit, and she crocheted. I never learned. She always wanted to teach me, and I never learned. Ironically, she taught my son, who today is a sergeant in the police force and still does that. He's probably home doing it right now. I hope he is. But it's not something I do. But I do enjoy rug hooking. It's quick and dirty, and quick and clean, I should say, and you get a nice outcome from it. So be careful when you order a rug hooking kit on that supplier, because some of them are color coded on the mat that you put it in, and some of them aren't. You actually have to try and figure out how to make this image on the box. So be careful which you order. I use the color coded ones. I like to just not think while I do things like that with my hands. And then the next one is one of my hobbies, obviously, is video editing. I'll probably edit some of this out today. And then the next one is something that my previously mentioned hairdresser Michelle took up a while ago, is puzzles, doing really large, small piece, large, multi-piece puzzles. So there's also something you can order online if you don't happen to have one lying around. And then the next one is something I've done a lot of in my life, and a heck of a lot of lately, is researching something, just anything. You know how you go through the day and you have a thought and you thought, oh, I wondered this, I wondered that. I started just because I've got nothing else to do, and my phone's always with me right now, just researching things, looking things up, and keeping data on the things I'm looking up. So I started wondering. I saw one of the celebs was online. It wasn't the Ellen show I mentioned. It was another one. I can't even remember exactly who it was, but I was curious if he was married or not. I mean, not for me, but, well, okay, I was curious. Let's just say I was curious. He's a good-looking guy. I do remember who it is now. Anyway, so I looked up whether he was married or not. And then I thought, I wonder how many celebrities are home alone versus home with someone. So I started Googling who's married, who's not married, and keeping data on my computer. Yeah. So research something. Could be something maybe more interesting than that, but that was what I did the other day. The next one is really cool. Learn a foreign language. I'm relatively fluent in Italian because I grew up in Italy. So I've started reteaching myself Italian. And I'm doing it when I'm using Google Translate. Instead of entering it in English and then translating to Italian, I'm writing it in Italian and then translating to English to make sure I got it right. But there's a lot of learning foreign language videos. You don't even really have to buy a course to do that, but do buy a course because we're supposed to support the economy right now. So just heck, spend $39, buy a course. The next one is painting. Now, I know some of my subscribers might know that I'm very involved in Central Florida arts community. I'm not talking about necessarily sale-worthy painting. Just take out some paints and paint something. A canvas. I suggest you start with watercolors, not oils. The next one is cool. It's one or two. Tai Chi or yoga. Yoga is something I do, and I've recently started teaching myself Tai Chi so that I can do Tai Chi too. And then the next one is difficult, but you might be able to master it depending on if you live outside, you probably could have access if you live outside. I kind of do, don't I? If you live somewhere where you can get outside, if you're not in a city or a tight suburb, get outside, try to find some rocks, and experiment with rock balancing. It's really cool. Now, if you find you can't balance the rocks, just paint them, decorate them. Rock decorating is another one, as is leaf decorating, which is my next thing. If you're able to find some big leaves, take them home, paint them, glitter them, save them. Something to keep as a memory. And then the next one is bottle painting. I really enjoy painting the outsides of bottles. And you can also use wax. If you drip wax on a bottle and then paint the wax, it comes out really cool. And then the next one is just bloody obvious. Reading. Yes, reading. Picking up a book and actually reading. Or being read to on Audible, which is really fun too. And then the next one is writing. I'm a writer. My subscribers know that. I write all the time. Just because you're not a trained writer or haven't had a lot of experience writing doesn't mean you can't write. And I'm not talking here about journaling. I'm talking about writing stories, writing moments. When I started writing, I was a middle schooler living in Italy, and every weekend we were given an assignment to write something, anything we wanted. I just started writing about what I was doing. I would write about my trips out into the woods with my paints and all kinds of things. And then I started experimenting in writing and sort of embellishing the story so that it got more elaborate and more interesting and was more like fiction than a biography. So writing anything. The next one is kind of like writing. It's storytelling. And this is something you can do to a video, or you can do it if you're fortunate to have family at home right now with you. You can pass your story writing around. You can take turns story writing. You can have a subject jar where you pull out a subject, or you can let one person give the subject for the night, or you can just do your own subject, whatever you want to do. And the next two kind of go together. Origami is one, proper Japanese origami. Lots of courses online. I'm very jealous of my friend Masami right now because she's a beautiful origami artist. She makes little butterflies and all kinds of beautiful things. But I'm not that good at it. But I am pretty good at paper folding. And I'll put up a picture here of something I did actually last Easter. A paper folding project. And speaking of Masami, there is also henna art, which is something else that she's super good at. Super good. She's a henna artist. She's amazing. She's not super good. She's amazing. So learning to use henna art right now would maybe be another activity for you. And then the next one is completely different than any of the others, except actually remaining ones are kind of completely different than any of the others. The next one is writing product reviews. Just going through your orders online from whoever you order online from, and back to some of those products that you were asked to review and never did, and start writing those reviews. And then the next one is just fun. Watching soaps. Okay, I'm not going to lie, I'm not watching any soaps. I did when I was pregnant the second time I was pregnant, years ago, decades ago. I used to watch soaps, and it is very addictive and so much more interesting than the news right now. The acting is better. The actors are better looking. Anyway, watching soaps, possible hobby for you right now. The next one is furniture refinishing. Now you're going to want to start small, but you can refinish pieces that you have not liked for years. And along those same lines is faux finishing anything, not just furniture, trays, pieces of wall, whatever you want to do. And then the next one is pretty obvious. We should all have a garden right now, right? If you start an inside garden, if say you're in a city or one of those tight suburbs I mentioned, and you want to start an inside garden, you're going to find the coolest thing. You're going to find that, like, if you grow peppers from the little seeds inside peppers, which you can do, by the way, you will find that your peppers get to be about this big, tiny little peppers. They're adorable, and they're delicious, absolutely delicious. So don't make the mistake, like I did the first time I started an inside garden, of thinking that they just haven't grown enough, because they will eventually rot down there. They don't get very big in an inside garden. The last one is silk flower arranging. Oh my goodness, I didn't start the thing yet, doing it, but I watched an amazing video on YouTube the other day about silk flower arranging. Very cool. And then the next one is urban art with recyclables. Ha, bet you hadn't thought of that. You have all this stuff around your house that usually you put out in the recycling bin, bits of styrofoam, bits of I would not start cutting bits of metal right now, because unless you're really experienced at it, you could hurt yourself, and you do not want to have to go to an emergency room right now. But urban art with recyclables is fun. And then the next one is kind of along the same lines. It's repairing things. You've got a lot of broken stuff around your house if you're like me. You know, stuff that you put out in the garage and think, I'll fix this later. And then you end up buying a new one instead of fixing it. And you never throw away or give away the original. Fix it. Or, you know, just take it apart and see what's in there. Got nothing else to do. And then the last one is obvious today because it's Easter. Easter egg art, which is what I'm going to go inside and do right now with my daughters. So thank you for tuning in today. I hope this has been helpful. If nothing else, entertaining, watching me for 27 minutes. That's a long time. I think I won't edit it. I think I'll just leave it. But you'll never know if I edit it or not. I might have said totally ridiculous things and tripped over my words and spilt my coffee. Anyway, I will see you next Sunday. And I know for the last couple of weeks I've been saying I'll see you on Wednesday for my midweek sneak peek. And I haven't done it because I have just actually told you what I'm going to talk about next week instead. But I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to see you on Wednesday for my midweek sneak peek. I'll see you then. Until then, have a safe and blessed week.